water, it's also about the energy. And so putting in place things, quite simple things like solutions such as solar water pumps that can basically be a very cost-effective way of pumping that water around, and then the efficiency through drip irrigation. That's just one example in St. Elizabeth that we've been expanding with some of our local partners in the farming community.
Thank you so much. That's a good answer to that question. That's all the time we have, viewers. You know, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for speaking with us, Dr. Kishan Kode.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks again.
He's a resident representative for the UNDP right here in Jamaica. And that's how we close Lead Story this evening. I'm Sondre Roden. Up next is the news at 7.
It's your girl Tassanchin Crooks, and you're watching CVM. See it happen.
Thank you so much for joining us for CVM News at noon for Thursday, July 17, 2025. I'm Curlin Brown, and we begin with an update as the plot thickens into the death of Viola Destin, who reportedly died in December 1923 and whose mummified body was being illegally stored inside a makeshift grave at a house in Little London, Westmoreland. Well, the police have now issued an appeal for a man who was referred to in CVM's report as a prophet and the boyfriend of Gina Robinson, who lived at the house and who has since been officially charged since the body was discovered by her father, reported to the police and removed to the morgue. A second woman who was mentioned also as a close association to Miss Robinson, 49-year-old Laverne Wedderburn, has also been arrested and charges laid against her in relation to the horrifying incident. The police's latest information in a release is appealing to Jamaican national Delroy Jones, who is believed to reside in Colorado, USA, to contact the Westmoreland police urgently. Investigators have listed the clergyman as a person of interest into the ongoing investigations, noting he may be able to significantly assist. The phone number 876-955-2758 is a point of contact for the police. The NIB tip line 811, Crime Stop 311, or the nearest police station. CVM News has been tracking that story, and we will have more for you later on at 7. At the latest Municipal Cooperation meeting in Mandeville, police report revealed while most major crimes are trending downward, one area is showing increase. Reports are rape is up by 33%, making it the only major crime category on the rise. Zor Grant has the details.
Rape cases in Manchester have increased by 33%. That's 2 more cases when compared to the same period last year. That's according to Police Inspector Berthlyn Lloyd during this month's sitting of the Municipal Corporation's meeting.
Rape, we have 8 reported, and I must pause to say this is the only area that we are seeing an increase for this year. We had 6 reported last year. We have 6 reported last year, and now we have 8, so this is showing an increase of 2 or 33%.
Despite the increase in rape cases, Lloyd says overall major crimes across the parish are down, including murders, shootings, and robberies.
For the period January 1 to July 5, the Manchester Division recorded 100 major crimes compared to 147 for the corresponding period for 2024. This indicates a decrease of 47 or 32%.
She also emphasized that the community must remain alert to ensure safety for all, even with major crimes continuing to decline.
While we are having decreased and only one area that is showing an increase, we still cannot be too comfortable and take things for granted. We all have to continue to work in partnership to ensure that we continue to keep Manchester safe. Thank you.
Zogrand reporting for CVM News.
The matter of national interest, Water Minister Matthew Forde on Wednesday announced a raft of mitigation measures, including a $350 million injection for trucking water, as experts predict an unusual dry spell spanning months. Now, as a result, the country could soon see water advisories and water-saving measures as the authorities rush to prevent further waste or theft of this precious commodity, water. Here's more from Nika Lewis.
These are dry times in Jamaica, a parchness that could outlive the summer months, so says Principal Director of the Meteorological Office, Evan Thompson.
So here we see in the period that we are currently in, going until next week, we are expecting lots of dryness, mainly over the southern part of the island. And you see that large area of reds and browns that is south of the island, but somewhat impacting on the island of Jamaica. And that's what we are expecting over the next few days, but then we are expecting the browns to continue in terms of the dryness continuing over sections of the island going through much of July. Here we have it even going into August, where we have those drier conditions that are expected to be impacting our island. Some of that could change in the longer term, but of course, we're looking at the immediate future, and we're seeing that there's a lot of dryness to be expected over the island.
And the forecast isn't looking much different over the next 3 to 6 months. But Thompson assures there'll be more rain closer to the end of the year.
First 3 months, although that's in the picture to the north, to the top, sorry, this is not north in this case, but the top of our image shows us that more of the wetness should be expected toward the western half of the island. But the eastern half could still continue to experience some amount of dryness, and this is for the period July, August, and September. As we move to the lower image, with October going through December, that's when we do expect to see a change. As you know, traditionally, we would have an increase in wetness or rainfall as we go through October, one of our primary rainfall season that prepares us for going into the next dry season. So we are expecting that we will have some amount of rainfall, that it will change the picture somewhat, but that is as we go toward the end of 2025.
Acting President of the National Water Commission, Garth Jackson, says already more than 40 of the 400 plus systems have been hit, showing below accepted levels mainly in eastern parishes. He also painted a picture for Kingston and St. Andrew.
The Hermitage Dam, we are currently, these are actually yesterday's numbers, 246 million gallons of storage. Capacity is actually just under 400 million gallons. And so we're at about 62%. The levels are falling about 1% per day. And so our usual caution level will start to have to deal with consider restrictions or consider contingency measures. It's about 65%, so we're just about there now, and we're actually in the process of dealing with those.
The Mona Dam levels, though lower inflows, he says, shows high storage levels, but that is rapidly falling by about 1% daily too. The NWC says in the short term, several wells once decommissioned have been returned to operation to increase flows to urban centers while reducing non-revenue loss. And despite this dim picture of dryness, the water minister insists Jamaica is in a better position to tackle the dry spell now than it was 9 years ago. The government also pumped millions into keeping water in the worst affected communities.
I'm announcing this morning a suite of measures for drought mitigation efforts from your government of 350 million Jamaican dollars. Those measures will include $250 million, which will be executed by the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, which will see trucking, something I hate to discuss, but trucking that will be directed through members of parliament to the tune of approximately $150 million. It will see further trucking support to the National Water Commission of approximately $50 million to service critical infrastructure. and $50 million towards additional tank purchases.
Minister Samuda says there's also a $100 million agriculture relief.
Nika Lewis ending that report. We will be right back. Stay with us.
Equipment, the new name in forklift sales and rentals in Jamaica. Top quality, low prices, fleet discounts available, 12-month warranty, free service parts, daily rentals, crazy cheap. Ashman's Equipment, same forklift, better deals.
Getting the keys to your own home is a feeling many cannot describe. It's a moment we all hope for and a dream that all Jamaicans have. The new social housing program is the difference between a dream and reality. The government, through the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, is building hope, one home at a time.
Welcome back. Thanks so much for staying with us. Well, with the general election drawing near, the spotlight is on voters' participation. You know, in recent years, voter turnout has reached a low point, raising questions about public trust in elected leaders and the effectiveness of political representation. So what has been driving the discontent, or the disconnect, if you will, and how can the nation address the growing sense of apathy? To discuss more on those matters, we are joined by Research Fellow Solicitors at UWI Mona, Dr. Stephen Johnson. Dr. Johnson, good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining us as we try to discuss this very important topic.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me.
Let's first look at this voter apathy. We hear the term, especially during the time of election. Explain to our viewers what we're talking about.
Okay, this refers to, well, in a democracy, the majority, our democracy is based on the principle of the majority rules. And over the last two election cycle, that has been threatened. So starting from as early as 1989, I believe, where we had like a 70% voter turnout. And over the years, we have been on a very steady decline. Up to 2007, there was an uptick, I guess, given that there were two main programs, free healthcare and free education. And since then, we have been on a steady decline. In the 2016 election, we went below the 50%. So, and then in the 2020 election, we had a 37% voter turnout. And what that is indicating is that we have the minority making decision for the majority. And this is now where it becomes a cause for concern. Once you go below 50%, I think the only other Caribbean country that has experienced that is Barbados. But for the others, they have been trending above 50%.
Doc, in a society where we don't openly, well, most people don't openly state their preference. Yes, we're told you're allowed your biases and all of that, but we don't have persons, necessarily openly stating. From your desk, how easy is it to, say, compare if we have more younger persons or elderly persons now making up our voters list?
Well, I am not in a position to say exactly how the voters list is composed. But based on a recent study that we have done here at Solicitors, what we find is that the older voters are more inclined to vote. And that's usually a universal trend. But nonetheless, it doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot try to engage, like, for example, Gen Z or millennials or Gen X. But what you find is that voter turnout among this cohort is exceptionally low.
And it hasn't shifted even for this election? I don't know if you're picking up anything.
For this election, we went out and, we were concerned as well. And we studied exclusively the undecided or I am very careful with the term undecided because they make a conscious effort to stay away because voters are rational creatures. And if you're not dangling a carrot in front of them, they're not going to engage. So whatever it is that you're out there dangling, it's not interesting the majority. So it's basically the base that is being engaged. And as you can see, even with the different polls that are being done, it's really the base for both political parties and the undecided. They're polling between 20 to 30%, so they're fence sitting.
Doc, we want to know why what's dangling before them is not being swallowed up. We're going to take a quick break and come back. Do stay with us.
Every day starts with care. Care that's always close. Supermed family of pharmacies is where you go for everything you need. From your morning routine to life's biggest moments. Supermed family of pharmacies is always by your side. Whether it's prescriptions or household essentials, trust the care that's close to home. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed.
Attention registered voters! Remember to collect your renewed voter ID card before the upcoming general election. If you registered to vote in 2016 or after and did not get your new ID card, it may have been automatically renewed. Simply visit your EOJ constituency office to collect your voter ID card. Contact the Electoral Office of Jamaica at 888-991-VOTE or 922-0425-9 for more information.
The time by Subaru is 12:50.
Welcome back to CVM News at noon. We're still talking with research fellow Solicitors, UWI Mona, Dr. Stephen Johnson. Dr. Johnson, thanks so much for staying around with this. Why aren't the youngsters, is it the bait? Why are they taking the bait, so to speak?
As I explained earlier, voters are rational creatures. And when we studied the undecided, we found specifically what they wanted. Not just the youngsters, but the general voters in overall. And some things that jumped out at us was having access to schools with quality teachers, the provision of free school uniforms, harsher punishment. But the one that resonates most with me is the provision of free childcare for employed persons. That one it seems to resonate, especially with females.
Wow.
Voters across the board, especially among youth and millennials.
Is there distrust? Is distrust a part of what's affecting the turnout?
Yes, there's distrust because of I have to be balanced here where both the voter and the politicians are concerned. It's years of mistrust. And let me give you an example that I normally use. For example, a popular promise is, I will give you water. Okay? I trust you, I want the water, I vote for you the last time. You come around, I didn't get it. Because of the procurement process to get the water, for example, you cannot get water on your property unless you're paying taxes, right? But that was not spelled out before. So when you come to me and I expect you to land the water on my property within the next 5 years, and you don't, and then you're going to explain to me that, well, you need to go and sort out your title or go through LAM and get a title for your land before I can put the water on your property, or I only can lead it to your community. Then I guess that's where the mistrust starts, or that promise is broken. Right? Because you promised me something, I expect it. So maybe somebody was being disingenuous along the way. It's just one example.
Let's draw on civic education, Doc. Do you think lack of that plays a role in voter apathy?
Some of it is driven by ignorance because government procurement process, it takes a very long time. But when a politician goes on the platform and say, okay, I'm going to give you X, but it's going to take a very long time. You know what? You're not going to want to hear from him, especially when your opposition or your opponent is promising to get it to you now. So again, this is the source of the distrust. Now, if it is that persons have had a better understanding of how government works, especially the procurement process, then when certain things take time, then the mistrust, you would kind of soften the blow, so to speak. So the responsibility lies with the person who is also given the promise. They should put an asterisk and say redefine print.
Let's jog your memory a little. Let's say when your parents used to vote and you were able to recognize youth and, you know, the elderly, would you say more young people were going out at that time?
I wouldn't necessarily say so because I guess myself, I would be excited to vote the first time.
Were you excited to vote at the first time? Are you saying
I was.
You were?
Then after a while, you start to say to yourself, okay, well, it seems like both of them are the same thing. You know, and I guess this would stem from broken promises. But because I'm so close to politics,
Right.
I view it as that. I understand the importance of it and I understand the process in terms of in order for the country to undertake certain promises, they have to balance the macroeconomic, etc. So I have a better understanding of how it works. So I guess I'm less disappointed. But as for others who don't understand, I too understand.